Welcome to another edition of the official Catchup podcast. It's myself, Ben. I'm joined, as always, by Chris. Chris, how we doing?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, another weekend of football. We've been quite regular recently, haven't we, Ben? We're getting there.
We
Almost
are
every week now, Getting?
we're making like a Sunday ritual. It's like a Sunday. We're recording this like 1:45 on a Sunday afternoon. I don't like doing anything on a Sunday, so I'm quite content to do a podcast. Like I said last week, my wife's away out for the day, so I'm just like happy to talk about football with Chris online and doing our thing like we always do. We've also got plenty to talk about. There was obviously a few games within the Lowland League, one game within the West Scotland Premier League, a couple of games in the East of Scotland Premier League as well, and of course the South Challenge Cup. We'll start then with the Lowland League. There was 3 games, as we said, in the Lowland League. Not a great deal to talk about, I'd say, Chris. The Cali Braves won 5-0 against Edinburgh Uni. A nice convincing result for them. Decent performance by sound to get a clean sheet, but you'd expect Cali Braves to beat Edinburgh Uni at this point in time.
Yeah, we've talked about the Braves almost every week since the start of the season. They've kind of surprised us. I think they're up to 4th now.
Yeah.
Mark Kelly always. I like Mark. He does a lot for that club. Obviously, he's kind of the under-20s. I don't know if he's the official manager, but certainly he coaches with the under-20s too. And I kind of ripped into him last week because he said he was on a goal drought after scoring last week. It must have been only a couple of games he didn't score, but putting 4 past Edinburgh Uni this week. Mark's a good guy, and I like seeing him doing well. And Ricky was talking about a kind of evolution at Cali Braves, and they really have came on. The last sort of few seasons in terms of. I mean, I think they had a good season last season, but I'm actually tipping them maybe to be a wee bit further than I thought already.
Yeah, I think there's that thing about Cali Braves that you notice is the progression. I think both on and off the park, I think for me is the things that stand out for them. I didn't think they personally had a great season last year. I thought they did all right. Obviously, the whole season was probably affected by COVID and things like that for a lot of teams in general. So it's probably hard to judge a team on last season's performances. I would have said that for any team, certainly within probably any part of Scottish football, really, to be honest. And yeah, but Cali Braves are doing well, as you said, up to 4th, only 1 defeat this season. I guess there's probably a few games they would have drawn. They probably would have liked to have got results from, but by no means they're still up there. They're 6 points off the top of the table, and I mean, who knows? I mean, we're not going to say they're probably going to win it, but I think they can keep pace, certainly from what we've seen so far from them, and it's definitely it bodes well for what they're doing, and hopefully it's one of those ones. I keep saying this, I didn't quite manage the game at the weekend, but I'm keen to get to more. In fact, I was actually just thinking this. We're talking about sidetracking slightly, but we're talking about going to a couple of games and stuff. I've not yet been to a Lowland League game. I've just realised I've been to a Lowland. We've been doing a Lowland League podcast for what now? Nearly 2 years or something like that, and I've yet to go to an actual Lowland League game. So I need to rectify that fairly soon. Definitely. Next game then, WB Star against Rangers B. It was a 5-2 win for Rangers B. Probably, I mean, the result we expected to get another convincing victory. We know what Rangers B are about now. I think the thing that probably surprised me most was the fact that WB scored 2. I would have thought that Rangers B would have got a clean sheet, but I think when you look at the B teams, both Rangers and Celtic, their defence seems like they're a weak part of their side. I don't know if that's just maybe not used to the kind of rough and tumble of the league yet, maybe for some of those players, and obviously it's a different challenge playing within the Lowland League rather than us playing kind of reserve team football. And I've seen some stuff on Twitter about how maybe the matches don't really matter, but let's be honest, that the Rangers B and Celtic B are going to be trying to win every game every week, and they're going to be wanting to win that league title, like regardless of what it means for promotion, relegation, etc. So I'm not quite convinced about that feeling, but I mean, good for Dalbeattie to get a couple of goals. I'm happy. I mean, that feels like progress for them right now, where they're at, because they've obviously had a poor start, struggling to get the ball in the net, and that does seem like at least a positive for them is to get the couple of goals. But Rangers B doing what they do, sitting second top, and it's going to be a straight. I feel like it'll be a straight battle between the two of them, between them and East Kilbride, certainly for the title.
Yeah, maybe it's certainly looking that way. One player we kind of have to highlight for Rangers B is Zach Lovelace. I mean, I cannot believe that kid is only 16-year-old. I mean,
Mad, isn't it?
he's an absolute tank. He's a
he's like an actual adult, and he's like 16.
Yeah, he's what they described when he moved from Millwall sort of youth academy to Rangers, the wonder kid tag. And I tell you what, he's living up to it. Just seen him. I think I watched him against East Kilbride, and I was like, I didn't know much about him. Obviously, just come into Rangers, but I was like, this he's incredible. He's, as I say, he's built like a tank, and he looks like he's going to be in double digits for goals this season, I think. But I think sometimes when you're talking about defences, I think it's maybe probably more so on the Rangers side than the Celtic side, but I think they get caught out a lot of time simply because they're quite attacking. So if they're going for a few goals, obviously that kind of leaves them vulnerable. But you're probably right, Ben. I think the B teams, they probably do have a bit more quality in the midfield and forward areas compared to at the back.
It's that thing of probably not being quite streetwise, maybe for the defenders. They're used to playing against players of their own physicality, their own size, and things like that. And coming into a league like the Lowland League, there's going to be obviously people of different shapes and size and strengths and all that. And that's maybe what they're, I think, probably struggling with at this point in time. Just on the point about Zach Lovelace, you will get probably loads of heat for bringing him up because he's come from England. He's not a Scottish-born talent. We're not bringing through our own there. He's from England. You'll get all that. I'm sure you'll get plenty of hate for that, Chris. The people are, those bloody B teams and they're English players, or there'll be negativity coming your way, I'm sure.
As much as I love seeing Scottish players do well and developing, we've talked a lot about Connor Young, Owen Moffat, for example. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's football. I don't really care about people's nationalities. If they're a good footballer, I'll appreciate them either way. But no, I honestly don't care. He's incredible talent, and I hope he does well. He's a young player. At the end of the day, I'm into youth football, and again, it doesn't matter what. I would prefer if they were Scottish, but it doesn't matter what nationality players are, as long as they have a good career and go on and do good things. I'm all for it. Like,
yeah, I mean, about 16 by the time of he's 21, 22, he could potentially play for Scotland anyway. So it's possible that he might actually end up playing for Scotland if he's. I guess maybe not. If he ends up not good enough for England, then there's a potential there. So let's not throw our chickens out the window right now. Well, let's wait and see. But he's a great player. I think you're right. I think we've also seen a lot of individuals within the B teams, like you mentioned. I guess you look at kind of Kane, Richie Hostler as well as another guy that looks the real deal within B teams last season. He's also English, but a good player. I mean, again, it comes back to that point of a player in the B team. Obviously, we've seen a lot of Alex Lowry who's stepped up as well, which he's probably a special case in that he's in the squad. Did he play? Has he been playing in the B teams again, Alex Lowry, or is he?
I think he's been getting the games.
Rangers have obviously brought in a few midfielders during the window there, and the likes of Matondo and Tillman and things like that, and obviously spent a bit of money in Yilmaz, I think it was as well. They've got Tom Lawrence, so there's probably for Alex Lowry, he's probably down the pecking order in the first team. So it's probably good that he's playing in the B team, because obviously we've seen him last season in the first team, and he obviously looked a talent when he played in the first team, but he was obviously getting a bit of freedom to play and maybe getting involved in games that weren't maybe as important as some of the other ones. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Rangers B, but I still think Rangers B will be right up there at the end of the season. Talking about a team being right up there, a nice little segue, but East Kilbride defeated Bowness United 1-0 at K Park. A good result for East Kilbride. Bowness obviously the surprise package for us in terms of the start of the season, and they're right up there against EK and Rangers B at the top of the table. But I think we now know that East Kilbride have started well. They obviously in the past have had struggles with how they start the season and things like that, but this year they've obviously managed to rectify that. They've built the squad well. Kevin Rutkiewicz has obviously got that squad working, and the signings he's made have been excellent, and another good result and a clean sheet for East Kilbride.
Yeah, game of the week, obviously, we called it quite early. I think we both had East Kilbride not necessarily winning it easily, but certainly not as close as the game was. And Bo'ness really gave it a game. So I think they can take heart from that. I mean, it's quite early doors going to K Park against an East Kilbride team that's obviously right up there as well. So I don't think I don't think it's going to shock anyone if Bo'ness kind of stay at that sort of level this season in terms of where they are in the league at the moment, because their goal difference is fantastic. They've not really conceded many. They only conceded one against East Kilbride. I think the issue with Bo'ness last season was the fact that they didn't have a settled squad. They had so many players coming in and then going out again, and Max and Yano have that squad settled now. I quite like Bo'ness's squad actually this season, I must say. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they stay in that sort of top 6 area, top 4 most of the season. I was really kind of surprised at how well they done against EK. And I mean, only a 1-0 defeat. Cammy Elliott, we've mentioned these guys before. Obviously, they can score for fun to keep it at 1-0. And I heard obviously the EK defence was really good as well on the day. So obviously Bo'ness put them under pressure too. So yeah, take heart from that, Bo'ness, and obviously East Kilbride just marching on as we expect them to.
I think you made a great point about that Bo'ness defence. Only shipping 4 goals in 6 matches that's got to be commended. Obviously, that's a defence there that are doing well, because even if you compare them to, like we talked about Rangers B, I mean, Rangers B were shipped 15 and 7, but obviously Rangers B are scoring for fun pretty much in every match, but certainly it's also leaking goals at the back as well, with a winning games like we did on Saturday 5-2, but Bo'ness are keeping it tight. They probably want to be scoring more because they want to try and keep pace with the likes of EK and Rangers B, but I mean, that's the thing about Bo'ness, is the only thing I think with the question mark will be around that squad for me, and it'll be more about the depth. I think EK and Rangers B will have that squad depth that I'm not too sure that Bo'ness will have across the season. And just elsewhere then in the Lowland League, we've got a game ongoing as we speak between Hearts B and Celtic B, and it's currently 1 each, Chris, yeah?
Yeah. Unfortunately, there is probably a few more Sunday games this season, especially with the extra teams and teams sharing grounds and whatnot. So there might be a few occasions where we miss out on teams, but we'll certainly cover them more next week. Sorry to the Hearts and Celtic fans that are listening to us. I don't know if there's many, to be honest, but we move on, don't we, Ben?
Absolutely. We'll move on into the West Scotland Premier League, and it was a quick one then. I think we'll have Cumnock played Petershill in the Premier Division, the only game in the Premier Division between them. It was a 3-1 victory for Cumnock. I was quite disappointed, really, to be honest, because not just about Cumnock, I'm talking about the fixtures. Like, we as a team, Quad Rangers obviously didn't have a fixture on Saturday. We had to play a friendly against Yoker. There was other teams in that Premier League who didn't have fixtures because of the South Challenge Cup. And I feel like at this stage in the season, it was pretty crap not to have a game. But I believe that was probably more down to the fact that we got a full fixture list. Now, I understand that the positives of having a full fixture list, certainly, but I thought there could have been done something there to have more games on the Premier League. But as I said, Cumnock, Petershill were the only game of the week, and it was a 3-1 victory for Cumnock. Cumnock staying back top of the league. Rob Roy were top of the league for about 1 week, and Rob Roy thought they'd won the league at that point when the way they were going on. But certainly another good result for Cumnock. I believe it was a bit of a kind of lapse in concentration at the back for the Petershill goal, but Cumnock are looking at quality side, and we've talked up about Cumnock and Brian McGinty's a manager before, so I don't need to go into great detail about that, but I know he listens, so you want me to make sure I mention his Cumnock side. But I mean, great side. He's obviously assembled a great squad like we've talked about before, and Jordan Moore up front is obviously a class signing for them back in January. I wonder how he's getting on. Though we're travelling down to Cumnock, because I'm not how far it is from his house. I'm not too sure how he's getting on, but I hope he's coping okay with that. But I mean, a great player and a great side.
Expected result, to be honest, against the Petershill team that's just been promoted. But you're bang on with Cumnock, Ben. You kind of called it last season that they done really well when Brian came in, and they're just going from strength to strength. Obviously, we kind of talked about them a wee bit last week when they, for our game of the week against Hurlford, never quite got the result there. But that's what good teams do if they lose out one week, they go on to win the next, and that's a good result for them.
Yeah, I think that they've built on that good performances in the kind of towards the end of last season. Obviously, Brian came in and built the squad, and the kind of aim was to make sure they were safe from relegation within that kind of 7-team relegation situation we had in the Premier League. So he did that, and he's managed to go out and recruit more players and build the squad, and obviously has more time in the squad in terms of training and getting a proper pre-season. So for me, I obviously mentioned Cumnock at the start of the podcast when we did the previews. I didn't have them probably at the top of the table at all. I had them up there. Did I think they would challenge? Probably not, if I'm being brutally honest. But there's no reason why they can't at this point in time, personally. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. They've obviously, like most teams in the top of the Premier League, have got a lot of cup competitions to think about, whether it's the South Challenge or the Scottish Cup or the League Cup, the West Scotland League Cup as well. So a lot of that will obviously kind of come into play at some point as well. I don't even know if they maybe even play the Junior Cup as well. They might have all the cups to play, and I know some teams don't, but certainly it'll be an interesting to see how it goes. And but right off Cumnock, I think is probably the thing to say right now.
Yep, and they've got a good keeper between the sticks, Ben, a guy that you like quite a lot. So
yeah, I'm still a little bit better about that, to be honest. Jamie Bartley's a great goalie. We had obviously had him last season. He's a great guy as well. So, but obviously know Jamie well enough and understand his reasons for moving on, and got to respect that from him. And who knows, maybe one day we'll see him back at the Buffs. We'd love to see him back in a Buffs jersey. Obviously, the Buffs goalie jerseys are absolutely mental. So Jamie wore them well last season, certainly. But yeah, great goalie, and I think he's one of those goalies that can win you games. Certainly, I think you can rely on and make big saves and keep the points. But don't get me wrong, when he was with the Buffs, he had the odd error where he did maybe cost us a game as well, but he'd win you more points than he did lose them, certainly. And Cumnock, obviously, as I said, assembling a great side, and that's just another factor there. A good keeper between the sticks is something that you need at this level, and Jamie is that for sure. All right, then moving on, then we'll jump quickly to the South of Scotland League. There was 3 matches, and I'll say this properly. Lochmaben lost 3-2 to St Cuthberts. Newton Stewart beat Stranraer Reserves 3-0, and a 1-1 draw for Wigtown Bladdock against Lochar Thistle. Again, more games. St Cuthbert's getting a result. Newton Stewart getting a decent win against Stranraer Reserves, because Stranraer Reserves have obviously been probably one of the sides within the South of Scotland League where they were probably not expected, but probably one of the teams that would challenge year on year. And obviously with the promotion or lack of promotion for them, they're obviously only ever able to win the league and can't get promoted, but they're always up there, Stranraer Reserves, and usually build a decent squad. So decent result for Newton Stewart. But again, like we said last week, Chris, it's going to be a very, very mixed bag, this South of Scotland League for sure, and who knows what will happen there.
Stranraer Reserves I've always had like a decent sort of side, like a top sort of South of Scotland side. As you said, they've kind of been near the top, kind of dominated that league in past years. But I don't know if they've just went with younger players or what's happened. But certainly there's been like a transformation over the last sort of few seasons where they've not done as well. I think it's maybe the club have probably decided to go a wee bit younger in terms of their squad, and obviously young players need experience and whatnot, whereas before they would probably kind of scoop up the best talents from the league. So it's interesting. Certainly Lochar Thistle drawing's probably a disappointing result for them, with all respect to Wigtown. But yeah, Lochar Thistle, one of them. Obviously they've got Ian Anderson, experienced striker. He got their goal. So surprising that one. I thought Lochar would go out and win that one. But yeah, we're South of Scotland, it's only sort of select fixtures, Ben. We've not really had a lot to go off so far this season, and obviously there was a few South of Scotland teams in the cup as well, so interesting.
Moving on then to the East Scotland Premier Division, it was a 3-0 win for Dundonald Bluebell against Fairleithen. Inverkeith and Hillfield Swifts won 3-0 against Haddington Athletic. Broxburn beat Oakley United 4-1 away, and Linlithgow Rovers got a 4-2 victory away to Sauchie. I guess Fairleithen, last year's Lowland League team, still getting defeated by kind of convincingly each week in the East Scotland League. I think they're probably one of the teams that you're probably looking at as candidates to probably get relegated this year, Chris.
Yeah. Dundonald, I kind of highlighted Dundonald before. They're a really good team. Darryl Healy, it was good to see him, in amongst the, man of match awards and whatnot. But yeah, Vale Leaven are struggling big time. It's a bit of a shame. I think they were close last week in one of their games, but it's going to be a difficult season. It's not something that's really surprised us, is it? We have seen a lot of that where, I think the prime example more recently has been Whitehill Welfare. I mean, they survived a season and two after being relegated in the Lowland, but now they're down in the East of Scotland First Division rather than the Premier. So I think it might be a similar situation with Vale Leaven. Just moving on to the other Fife team, of course, Hillfield Swifts. We kind of never pointed them out last week because they had played one last game, but they've got a perfect record as well. When we were talking about perfect records, where Pennycook and Genefield, they're another team that's doing well. I mean, they have Greg Spence, who's unreal for the level, so he always gets in amongst the goals. But that's a really good win over Haddington, and obviously Sauchie losing to Linlithgow. Ben, good result for Linlithgow. Sauchie have started well. We've talked them up. So, but yeah, Linlithgow, that's exactly the result they would want early on against a Sauchie team that we've mentioned quite a lot about, haven't we?
Yeah, obviously we've mentioned them plenty over the course, and they started the season really well. But yeah, ultimately it comes down to the fact that Linlithgow are a good side, and we expect a lot from Linlithgow Rose, certainly, and they've delivered. I mean, that's absolutely the case. And Linlithgow have got kind of aspirations to go up the leagues as well. They're one of those sides, a kind of old-fashioned junior team, but they certainly are a team that want to go up and prove themselves. And I think they look like the side that are going to do that. Certainly for me, it looks like an interesting season ahead, but I think Linlithgow will probably just have enough over the course. The next bit of football we're going to talk about then is the South Challenge Cup first round. Looking in towards the matches, we'll probably some highlights and lowlights certainly be discussed. Chris, let's just go straight on to some of the positive results, shall we say, across the board. Let's start with Thorn Athletic versus Greenock Juniors. Thorn Athletic, obviously a new side within the West Scotland pyramid, winning 3-0 on Friday night against Greenock Juniors away. I think that's a great result for Thorn Athletic. They're obviously a new side in terms of coming up from the amateur ranks and beating a good Greenock side, certainly. I mean, Greenock Juniors are no mugs for me, and it's a great result for Thorn, obviously a team who have took their chance in the cup competition.
And that one did stand out a wee bit. Obviously, because I like you, Ben, I kind of rate Greenock. But yeah, that was certainly one of the more surprising results in terms of the cup. I'll probably be a wee bit harsher with the teams we know or know better, but fair play to Thorn on that one. We do realise it's cup games and there will be shocks, but that certainly was a shock for me that they managed that one there.
Yeah, I think it's a great result, and they get their opportunity in the draw as well. I think that's the thing for a team who's looking obviously in the division 4 as it is just now. And they kind of try to find their feet within the West of Scotland pyramid, but to get a result of that against Greenock, we played Greenock last season in the West of Scotland Cup, and I think we only won 1-0, and it was like a cold Wednesday night, but they were a good side and they were well organised, and I think they've lost a couple of players certainly over the course, but very, very good team. Looking elsewhere then on kind of probably positive performances and positive results, Beith Juniors winning 8-1 against St Anthony's. My big mate Martin will be pretty gutted about that. He's involved at St Anne's, but obviously my good mate Chris Train will be absolutely delighted with an 8-1 victory in the cup. I would say
the Ants were doing well at a point.
They went up 1-0. I think it was one each at half time.
I'm sure. They were doing well up until a point, and then Beith just obviously, scored a few goals, turned up. An interesting thing about Beith actually, did you see their wee sort of mini documentary about their rivalry with Kilburnie? It was
I've
on
not
Twitter.
watched it yet, but I did see it shared the other day, and it was like, I wonder what that's all about. Don't know who made that, but
It's a good wee watch. It's only about probably less than 10 minutes, but it was kind of went in. Obviously, speaking about the fans speaking about their wee sort of rivalry and stuff like that. But yeah, I retweeted it from Beef, so it should be on the catch up timeline. But yeah, give it a watch if that's your sort of thing.
I love how you say beef, because I would say beef, but
Uh-huh.
people from Beef would say beef. It's funny how people would say it differently, but most people from Cullinan, for example, would say beef. But like, it's an interesting one because I totally get it, but it's always funny when people say it because I always think you're saying it wrong, but really it's me that's saying it wrong, not everyone else. Because Lauren works in that town and she always says beef, and I'm like, don't think I said it right, but really it's just me been brought up about 20 years ago, and that's how my parents said it, and how my auntie, uncles, and grandpapa, etc., all said it, and that's just the wrong way. Elsewhere, then, still kind of talking about some of the west sides. St Roch's beat Drossing Winton Rovers 2-0. I was disappointed in that. I thought Drossing Winton Rovers would have enough to win that game. They've got some good experience within their ranks, certainly in Ricky Hanvey and Liam McGuinness and players like that. And was kind of surprised. I didn't think St Roch's had a lot in them, but fair play to them. Good result for St Roch's.
I immediately thought of you when I saw that result because I know that you like Ardrossan and St Roch's. I know a couple of the guys obviously doing the FM stuff last year and getting their team added and stuff like that. It's a fantastic result for them actually.
Yeah,
but it's surprising. It was surprising, but like I say, I immediately thought of you when I saw that result, Ben.
I mean, obviously, Drossing have got a lot of time for them in terms of obviously Gav Friels is the manager there. He's former Buffs assistant manager. They've got Ricky Hanvey, who was our captain last year. Liam McGuinness, who's played a couple of seasons for us when I was there. Plus, he played a few seasons before I even arrived and stuff like that. Kieran McLaughlin, who played one season with us, is a great talent and for me wasted at that level of football certainly. And but I thought Drossman would have had enough to see off St Roch's, but certainly didn't look like it on that showing. I think the one thing about that game I would say though is I think they went down to 10 men fairly early on. I think the goalie got sent off for 2 yellow cards. It obviously gave them a bit of a difficulty in terms of the match that they had to play in for the rest of the game. One of the other results I think that stood out for me, and I guess it's a good result for Glenafton, was that they beat Bonnet and Thistle 1-0. I don't know what kind of side they put out Glenafton, but would have expected a better win for Glenafton against a side like Bonnet. And seen them obviously last year in the league, and they're no great shakes. Bonnet are going to find one of these teams that we talk about finding a level in the pyramid. And I know, Chris, you've got some views on teams finding a level in the pyramid at the moment, based on some of these results, certainly. And I thought Glenafton would have won that match much more convincingly.
Yeah, and just to add another fixture, because I don't think anyone will be thinking much of it, but Luncarty, Kirkentulloch, Rob Roy going to extra time, and obviously Rob Roy got the win, but Luncarty have started the season really well in the East of Scotland First Division. That was probably a harder game than a lot of people would expect for both teams. Obviously, Rob Roy have started really well in the West of Scotland, so I thought it was interesting seeing them two teams come up against each other. But fair play to Rob Roy. I think Luncarty have won every game so far in the East of Scotland First Division, so they're not a team that we've talked about a lot, Ben, in comparison. But that was certainly one that I was kind of keeping a wee eye on. But it's probably one of those one where I don't really know much about Luncarty, so I'm sure we'll learn more if they keep doing well, and we'll look into it a wee bit more, Ben.
Yeah, I seen a stat. Apparently, Luncarty were like the most northern team within the Lowland League kind of pyramid type part of the pyramid. Apparently, I was told.
Maybe.
I seen that stat.
We've got Canoe and Genefield up kind of near Perth, but possible.
Possible.
I'm not actually sure. I've never looked at that one actually.
Get the maps out. Get the ordnance survey maps out, and let's see what we can find there. One game then we want to talk about then within involving West Scotland teams is Troon beat Blantyre 3-2. I would have personally expected Troon to probably win that game a bit more convincingly. Blantyre probably not a brilliant side, certainly from getting relegated last year near the bottom of the West Scotland Premier League. But we probably want to look at the Sam Jameson elite striker watch, Chris. How did he get on at the weekend?
Scored a double.
Scored a double.
Fair play to him. No a hat trick though. No a hat trick.
Not a hat trick against Division 1 opponents. Yeah, so I mean, great performance from the elite striker that is Sam Jameson. Yeah, fair play, well done.
Fair play to Sam. He's probably, I don't know if he's been told that we're talking about him, so maybe that's kind of inspired him to go.
Yeah, maybe, because I don't think he's scored this season up until now. So fair play, got a double. So maybe we were wrong about him not being an elite striker. Certainly, who knows? Just a quick mention then for the Benburb Dalry Thistle game. Benburb won 3-1, but just what I said, our well wishes to the Benburb player Jay Blair, who actually broke his pelvis during the match yesterday. Seems like a fairly innocuous challenge with a bit of an accident, but I mean, broken pelvis is a horrible sound injury. That's the kind of things you hear people getting in fucking car accidents, for example. So I'd imagine he'll be out for quite some time. So all the best to Jay there and his recovery. Right, moving on then probably to what is the first shock that we're going to talk about within the South Challenge Cup first round, and it's involving a West Scotland team and a Lowland League side. Gretna 2008 lost 4-0 to Cambuslang Rangers. Now, massively surprised about that myself. Surprised because it was 4-0, I think. Obviously, I've spoke about Gretna a lot this season and don't rate them too highly within the Lowland League. But I thought they'd have enough to beat a side like Cambuslang Rangers. But I mean, great result for Camby. My big mate Finlay Anderson got 2 goals as well for Camby. I think both headers from corners. Finlay was at the Buffs last season. Great lad and solid defender. But Gretna, for me, that's a poor result for Gretna.
Yeah, and a lot of people were a wee bit confused the why I bring in, when we're talking about cup games, bring in the idea of promotion and relegation. But you look at Cambuslang Rangers, a team that's just been promoted to the West of Scotland, struggling early on, and Gretna, who are a Lowland League side. I mean, kind of brings up the question, and I know a lot of people, it's only a cup game, but I mean, 4-0, embarrassing, really. And look, we're not. I didn't want to be Willy Wonka and sugarcoat anything. We mentioned that last week. I was harsh on Ken Beef and Dalbeatty, and I think we have to be harsh because we praise the boys when they've done well. So I think it's only fair that we criticise them when they don't, and I think that's just a shocker of a result, especially against the Cambuslang Rangers side that's not doing well in the West to begin with. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, if Gretna were in that West of Scotland Premier, would they be near the top? Would they be mid-table? I think they'd probably be down the bottom. And I mean, they're a tier above where they should be playing, in fairness. And I think we've mentioned, obviously, I think Gretna will be all right this season, and there's certainly weaker teams at the bottom of the Lowland League, in my opinion, more than Gretna. So, again, this is why we talk about this need for more promotion and relegation, not just one team going down. We need 2 or 3 to get this right, because I feel a wee bit weird saying this on a cup game, but it kind of proves the point. Everyone knows that there's some teams in higher up that probably shouldn't be. And we mentioned earlier, with all due respect to Vale leaving, we knew that they would struggle in the East of Scotland Premier. I mean, they're probably looking at 2 relegations in a row, and I think it would be the same for. Well, it wouldn't be for Gretna because they'd probably go south, but shocking result. No 2 ways about it. And saying too much about Gretna, at the end of the day, it's a fantastic result for Cambuslang. Full credit to them in terms of the performance. But you do look at some cup games and think like that's a shocker, and that was a shocker for me. Yeah,
I think let's not be unrealistic. Cambuslang are a probably a bottom 3 Premier League team. Let's be realistic about that. They're probably one of the teams that will get relegated this year. I don't think that Cambuslang have enough in them to stay up for me. So the idea that they were able to beat Gretna 4-0. I know that Gretna had Russell Curry was out or not playing certainly on Saturday, but I mean again, I should still have enough for me to beat that side. And I know I've talked about them a lot this year and been probably fairly negative, but that just compounds it for me as well. And I think on your point about the pyramid, and obviously you tweeted out last night, and it caused a bit of a
oxymoron and all that sort of stuff from Gaz, but
my good mate Gaz was confused about your oxymoron. I mean, to be fair, when you first posted that tweet, Chris, I didn't understand it myself. It took me a few reads, but we got there. But I see where you were coming from kind of afterwards. And yeah, I mean, I think the cup competitions are obviously the opportunity for teams to gauge where they're at against maybe the Lowland League sides, for example. And that's what's so good about the South Challenge Cup for me, that you get to play against Lowland League sides and you get to play against other East of Scotland sides and all that kind of stuff, because that's the only really competition you get to do that in. So I like it from that perspective. But I think you're right. I think there's a lot of teams in there that still need to find a level within the pyramid. And the only way that's going to happen for us just now is via promotion and relegation. Obviously, with the way it's set up, we've talked that topic to death in terms of how it should be set up, and we all believe it should have more. But then the more you see the results like that, the more it compounds the fact that you think that these teams deserve to get their chance. And yeah, back to Gretna once again, they're probably lucky that there is Dalbeattie Star there and Edinburgh Uni and maybe even Cowdenbeath within the league this year, because if not, I think they'd be really, really struggling. I think it only takes maybe a Dalbeattie, for example, like we said last week, to get going. Whether or not they will, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not convinced as yet, but certainly it only takes is for one of those teams to get moving and get results against them, for example, and then they might be struggling. So that's certainly one result that caught the eye across the board. But yeah, like you said, fair play to Canby for getting the win, because we probably didn't think they would, based on their current start of the season. Right, moving on then to the next game within the Challenge Cup, and let's go to Glenrothes 1, Open Goal, Broomhill 0. Very, very disappointing result for Broomhill. There's obviously a massive amount of hype about Broomhill, and we're probably a bit fair on Broomhill, probably because, well, certainly I am, because Moz is our mate, and we don't want to say too much about Broomhill, but the more it goes on, the Broomhill and these results, the more disappointing it gets, because of the hype, I think, for me, around obviously the Open Goal podcast and the content and that idea, but they shouldn't be losing 1-0 to Glenrothes, regardless of team. I mean, I know Cy Ferry started in the team yesterday, and Broadfoot wasn't playing, and Derek Lyle started up front and all that kind of stuff, which is put two of your coaching staff and your manager playing and things like that. And Slaney was in the bench. I don't know if he got on, but I think for me, and I'm going to be brutally honest for a second, I think a lot of this stuff is a bit of a distraction. See a lot of this content stuff to the actual football, and I like the content stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I watch most of it across the week. I find maybe some of the kind of Open Goal Broomhill podcast sometimes a wee bit difficult to watch, but I still watch it because they're obviously talking about a level of football that interests me, and I want to know about it. But I just wonder if a lot of this is distracting, whether it's the manager, the coaching staff, the players themselves. But I mean, coming back to that result, Chris, very, very poor.
It's embarrassing. It's as simple as that for me. It's an embarrassing result. And I know people at Glenrothes. The manager's obviously been on the podcast. Stuart Cargill got the goal. I know him from Kelty, really decent forward. But again, a lot of people are like, oh, it's a cup game. There's no way Broomhill should be losing to the Glens. No chance. And I don't care if it's a cup game or who they played. With all due respect to Glenrothes, they have a decent side. But we're talking about Broomhill that have a lot of sponsors, a lot of money being put into them. They've got Kirk Broadfoot playing for them. I know he never played on Saturday, like you said, but the levels between them two teams. I'm going to try and stay away from what you've talked about in terms of, I do think it is a distraction, the media stuff, but I don't think Cy Ferry has the players that he needs to play how he wants to. I mean, the high lines and trying to play football proper, it's a good idea, but you need the players to do that, and he doesn't. I mean, you look at David Wilson in goals. He's not a sweeper keeper. He's a good keeper for this level, but every game you see someone, they're pushing them. They're basically. I don't think he's that comfortable trying to get the ball out, and that's what Sai wants. I mean, you see the high line, they're getting caught out almost every time with a ball over the top, and Kirk Broadfoot's not at that level of his career where he can run back and sort of fire back and try and keep up with a pacey forward or whatever. And the amount of red cards, and I think that's just the way they're trying to play. And I respect Sai for having a bit of a philosophy about football. I like football exactly like how he plays it, but you need the players for that. You need fitness right. You need probably a wee bit of luck as well. You need to actually take control of the game. And there's so many times where I've seen, in fairness, highlights. Obviously, I have seen them against civil service strollers, but I think Sai needs to learn to adapt to his players that he has, or bring someone else, or bring other players in, because it's not going to be successful the way it is. And again, another red card. I know the one against Lowland Uni was debatable, but red cards are an issue too, because if you can't have players playing for you if they're suspended. But I worry I'm trying to, as I say, stay focused on the football side of things, and certainly from what I've seen, that it's not been good enough so far from Broomhill.
I think you look at the squad, and I think there's a lot of chopping and changing as well within that team. And you look at that team yesterday, and like I said, you had the likes of Sai playing, Lyle was playing. I think the thing you look at, they do have good players, they're talented individuals, and it's like guys like Gary Fraser, and you mentioned Broadfoot. Like, they should be playing this game with like cigars in their mouth, because they're far too good for this level. But just tell me my question marks around guys like maybe Jamie Semple and things like that up front, who maybe not, maybe as you said, the right fit for the team. And yeah, I just worry about them quite a bit, and I genuinely do feel that there's maybe a bit of distraction coming because of the whole thing. And I think I've talked about it before, where the teams are coming and maybe raising their game because it is open goal and things like that. You probably see that. I mean, a bit like the Darvel thing. Like there's obviously a lot of hype around Darvel, and teams probably build themselves up to play against teams like that because who they are and the reputation that they have. So yeah, I don't know what Sci-Fi does, but I think you're right about the formations and playing the players they have. I think he's keen to stick to kind of like playing 4-3-3. But sounds of it when you talk me listen to him talk, and maybe that's the wrong formation. I'm not a football player or a manager by any stretch of the imagination, but you just wonder if trying to be persistent and stubborn and sticking to your ways is, if it comes good, then we're fair play to him. He's made the right decision. But the longer it goes on, and the more they take the defeats, because they aren't scoring the goals, for example, and obviously at the back they're pretty weak at the back. It feels like too, and I think it's one of those things that they need to get. Probably not a football cliche, but getting it going in both boxes. I think that's the thing that you see with Broomhill. They're not strong enough at the back, and they're not strong enough going forward, and that's the thing that they probably need to up their game on. And then obviously guys like Sai, Gary Fraser, Broadfoot, Slaney himself, even Big Kevin Kyle been involved, Andy Hardy. These guys have got good connections, I would imagine, to get maybe some loan players in that can maybe help them out, and you could maybe find that Celtic or maybe Hearts or something like that might be prepared to loan them a good player, because the reputation that those individuals have that are involved with the team. But I don't know where Broomhill go from here. That's the thing. For me, to go papped out the South Challenge Cup the first round to a team like Glenrothes is disappointing. And I'll be honest, I was really, really hoping to get Broomhill in the draw at some point, because I would love to play against Moz's team. I think that's always been a thing for us as mates. We've talked about plenty that we're keen to play against each other, and the only opportunity to do that is the South Challenge Cup at this point in time, or the Scottish Cup. So obviously they're still in that, and we play next week against Rutherglen. But the more it goes on, that opportunity goes as they get beaten by a team like Glenrothes.
I I actually do feel sorry for them in a sense, because you look at the social media afterwards and the fans have obviously not of their teams kind of taking the piss a wee bit, where other teams probably don't have that. But in terms of loaning players to Broomhill, if I was a manager of an SPFL team, I would not be doing that, because I wouldn't want my player to be part of what could become a sideshow. In my opinion, I'd be like, it's just like you say, it's a distraction. Obviously, if things were going well, it'd be a different. Oh yeah, go on loan to Broomhill. And I think if you're playing wing backs or trying to play that sort of style, you do a Conte. You go to 3 at the back or 5 at the back. It's really hard trying to play up the wing with 2 central defenders nowadays. I don't care what team you are. It's just not built for that. I think he is playing a sort of DM role for. Not sure if it's Gary Fraser, but yeah, I would say either do that or make one of the defenders a sweeper, just because they're getting too exposed, and it's not good to see. And that's probably that's probably not helping either Wilson in goals, and certainly not helping with the red card as well.
Next game then, we're going to talk about is involving 2 Lowland League sides, and it was Cowdenbeath 0, Cumbernauld Colts 2. Another disappointing result for Cowdenbeath, but great result for Cumbernauld.
Yeah, Cumbernauld, really good result. I'm assuming they would have preferred to have that one in the league, obviously. Craig Holmes and Stephen O'Neill in amongst the scoring. I think one of the notable things in that match is obviously they signed a fullback on loan from Dundee United, Leighton Bisland, and he got sent off in his debut, which is not great. But really harsh for them last week. They've got such a young squad. I don't know why they think they're going to be successful if that's what the feeling is, because you can't. They're too young. We've talked about character for young players, I think mainly with the B teams, but the B teams have quality. I mean, so we talked about, Lovelace earlier. I mean, he could probably be playing sort of League 2, League 1, way up the leagues, whereas you look at the players that are playing for Cowdenbeath currently, I think there is some that are really good footballers that probably could be playing higher up, but as a team, you need experience, and Cowdenbeath are getting absolutely pummeled at the moment because they don't have an experienced player or experienced characters in that side, and that's a real issue for me. The fact that they've got such a young side, discipline's an issue. I mean, it seems like they're getting sending off. It's a bit like Broomhill actually. It seems like they're getting players sent off every week. And it's different from Broomhill because it's not necessarily the way they're playing, but it's just again the lack of discipline or whatever it is. I don't know how Morris Ross sorts that out for them, to be honest. And I don't know if anyone if he left, for example, and someone coming in could do that. Cowdenbeath are in a really bad position at the moment. But in fairness to Cumbernauld Colts, obviously we can't take anything away from them. They won the game. Good win for David Proctor on to the next round.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, as I say, like you said, I think I echo the sentiments about Cowdenbeath and what they're capable of. I don't really know what they're capable of right now. And maybe they are a side that's maybe about to find a level within the pyramid, and that's certainly not in the Lowland League the way things are going. So it's one of those ones that they'll need to do something, certainly. While they're not Morris Ross is the answer, I'm not convinced. He seems to spend a lot of time on Twitter and picking fights with people now and again on Twitter. And
wait, hold on. Mick Kennedy does that too, to be fair.
Mick Kennedy does that, but he's fucking winning leagues.
He's winning leagues, yeah.
I think Mick Kennedy is perfectly justified. And yeah, there's a shock for you, everyone. I'm defending Mick Kennedy. Who'd have thought it? Things have changed, but I think that's the thing for me about Morris Ross. Maybe he needs to spend less time on Twitter and worrying about his team and trying to figure out how he gets that right. Because I don't see
that. We talk a lot about young teams, B teams. Obviously, the uni teams are usually young, Stirling Uni, but these are guys that tend to have played with each other. Stirling Uni, obviously, they've got senior guys that have played together 3-4 years, and Cowdenbeath, they don't have the time to do that. They don't have these players. Most of them have came in this season. If they survive this season, and I have massive doubts, I think it comes down to Dalbeattie and Edinburgh Uni, possibly Gretna, like you mentioned. Cumbernauld Colts, I think, will be all right, but certainly they've not started well. But I don't know. I'm worried about Cowdenbeath. They've got too many inexperienced players, and quality aside, if you can't play like a team, it's not going to work.
Okay, moving on, a couple of other results involving Lowland League sides then. East Stirling beat Kirkcaldy Dysart 2-0 and University of Stirling beat Crossgates Primrose 3-1. I mean, results we probably expected, certainly, in a good result for probably University of Stirling more than Shire, certainly. But the next round of the hat, and obviously as a podcast that likes to feature Lowland League sides, it's great to see them win. But
yeah, I was actually going to go down to the Crossgate Stirling Uni game, but I never made it because I was watching the bloody Spurs game, obviously. But
obviously,
no, good result, obviously, for Stirling Uni. Crossgates, we've talked about them a wee bit, doing pretty good in the East of Scotland and doing really well. They're a solid outfit. I think Cal Ray, obviously, we've talked about him a few times. He's doing phenomenally well. I think he got the second goal. Yeah, good result all around because Crossgates, I think, did have a really good second half when they were trying to get back into the game.
Another good result then for Silver Strollers, winning 6-1 versus Heriot Watt University. Again, probably routine victory, and for them to get 6 is probably a cracker. Hat trick for Alu Faye in the cup. He's obviously a good striker. We know all about Alu, and he's been delighted to to bag a hat trick.
Yeah, Heriot Watt are a decent side. They have lost a lot of senior players. I like BJ Koya and what he's done there, but they have, I think it can be the same with some uni sides, but they have lost a lot of their seniors that are now playing in East of Scotland and wherever else. So it's a tough one, but we know how good Civil can be if they're playing. No surprise in terms of the result. In terms of the scoreline, I would have thought that would have been a bit closer.
So one of the games, final game we talk about then within the South Challenge Cup first round, and it was a 5-0 win for Pennycook Athletic versus Bathgate Thistle.
Yeah, we did promise 10 minutes of propaganda for Pennycook, or certainly I did. Obviously, we can't do that. We'd be here all day doing that. But yeah, fantastic result. Good to see like Aidan Walsh on the score sheet, Gregor McDonald too, who actually kind of goes from what I said, because obviously he was at Heriot Watt, their captain previously, kind of goes in from what we were talking about just a minute ago. Scott McCrory Irvine, goal gif if you want, is just horrendous. He did say I only had a few sort of seconds to think about it, but that's bad. It's a fine. I'm sure one of the players.
Which one is that? Which one is it?
He kind of flexes his arms and does all this sort of weird stuff.
Fair enough.
It's not great, but then again, he did call out a few of the other boys because theirs is just like sort of touching the badge or putting the finger up it, so it's less inventive.
Moving on that little tangent, I am in the process of currently editing Cohen and Rangers goal gifts for the season to be unveiled on Saturday, hopefully for our Scottish Cup match against Rutherglen. And
shockers?
There's a mixed bag. Shall we say? Do you know the funny thing I think about these gifts is they sometimes nail your colours to the mast by what you choose to do. I've noticed that within the Cohen Rangers one. Certainly, there's boys out there doing Scotty Arfield salutes, and Alfredo Morelos is pointing down, and Kyogo's stuff and different things, and they're just like, you're giving away your allegiances here, boys. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some absolute belters from the Cohen and Rangers teams. You've got to admit, Chris Mills and Kev Nichols are absolutely hilarious, and I hope they score because those have to see the light of day. And I've promised that they'll only ever come out if the players score. So
was it better than the ball pump? I can't remember who that was.
Oh yeah, that was when I seen it was the boy had the shorts around his below his bum and wearing a light coloured pair of pants and was inflating a football from behind that looked very, very suspect, shall we say? But I did see that last night and thought it was hilarious. But I mean, I love goal gifts. I've got a lot of time for them. There's as you say, there's a good mixed bag of stuff. You get the guys who don't really know what to do, and then there's guys who've got real bit of creativity. You see it across the board, and I think they're a good part of a good laugh, and they're good for the players as well. We're doing a bit less seriousness as well at the start of the season when you can do these things. So
And we'll let Scotty off because it was a good goal and he's a good guy. So,
well, a bit. That's fair enough.
aye.
But good player nonetheless. We've also talked a lot about Scotty last year and, when he was in the Lowland League. So, yeah, let's allow that one to happen. We're moving on then to the East of Scotland Qualifying Cup. We'll start with Harthill 0, Genefield Swifts 3, Hollick Royal Albert 0, Blackburn United 2, Canoe 1, Galliferdine Rovers 1, and Canoe 1 5-4 penalties. Lockor Welfare 3, Lothian Hutchison Vale 2, Newton Green Star 0, the Spartans 2, Preston Athletic 1, Musselburgh Athletic 2, Stonyburn 2, Bear Rangers 1, and Whitehill Welfare 1-3-2 next time against Kennaway Star Hearts. I guess there's two games here that we want to talk about, Chris. First one being Canoe versus Galliferdine Rovers. Disappointing result for Gala. They should be winning that game, surely.
Gala are a wee bit like Broomhill. I think Jimmy Scott has a way of wanting to play. I think we mentioned kind of similar to Broomhill. They kind of want to play football right, which is admirable. I mean, Gala, a team that were actually in the final of this last season, knocked out in the pretty much the early rounds is not ideal. Gala, I think they suffer similarly to Broomhill in the way they want to play. I think it's not as extreme as Broomhill because I do believe they have the players to try and pull that off. They've probably been a wee bit unlucky with injuries and suspension so far, but that is a shocker because all due respect to Canoe, I know some of the players up at Canoe as well. So but Gala should be beating Canoe in my opinion.
A routine victory then for the Spartans against Newton Green Star 2-0. Would expect the Spartans to have enough to beat Newton Green Star.
Yeah, I said previously a few weeks ago that Spartans don't really score a lot from midfield other than maybe Jamie Dishington, but I had two really good goals from Bradley White and Sam Jones. One was an absolute rocket with Sam, and I love Newton Grange. I love their ground. I probably would have went to that if I didn't want to show too many sort of appearances at Spartans over the course of this season. But no, it was a routine victory. Really good result. Good, as I said, good to see a couple of the midfielders showing. I think Bradley White's going to be key for Spartans, and I've heard Sam Jones does that a lot at training, according to Alan Brown. So more of that from Spartans, I think.
And the final game then, within that we're probably going to talk about today, is the 2-1 win for Stonyburn against Berwick Rangers. Now, Stonyburn, third division side within the East of Scotland pyramid. Can't believe Berwick didn't have enough to win that game.
That they did rotate their squad a wee bit, but that for me is embarrassing. Probably one of the most embarrassing results in Berwick's Rangers history. And Berwick have a weird relationship with some of these cup competitions, especially the fans, because they see it as, without the cup, it's less games, we can focus on the league. It's like, there's no point of focusing on the league if you're not beating Stonyburn. I'm sorry. With all respect to Stonyburn, really good win for them. Brilliant. The boys were obviously buzzing. The gaffer, Stephen Sharp, was delighted. But Berwick, in comparison, it would be a Celtic getting beat by Albion Rovers in terms of the tiers. I mean, it's shocking. I mean, we give a lot of credit to Berwick in the past, obviously what they do on the field, and we have them up there as a top team. But questions need to be asked after that, and I don't like this blasé attitude of it's just a cup game, and because it's like just not to go too off track, Ben. I know we're probably going to be closing soon, but it's like I watched that episode of All or Nothing Arsenal, and Arteta at half time when we're pumping them 2-0, they're down to 10 men. He was talking about the next two games. After that, I'm like, this is a North London derby. You've got another half. And it was no surprise that Tottenham went out and scored just after the second half. There's mentality is not there with some of these teams and players, and you can sense it. And it's like, I don't know. That's the wrong mentality for me, thinking, it's just a cup game. I mean, getting beat by a team 4 divisions down is just unacceptable. And I don't care if it's we want to focus on the league. It's like you need to get your priorities straight if that's the case, because yeah, I don't like the mentality. And in fairness, I don't want to talk about Spurs and Arsenal, but I did hear like, the Arsenal mentality is changing. Now it's like, who have they played so far this season? No one. You know what I mean? The Bournemouth, fucking great team. You know what I mean? Anyway, mentality. I talk about mentality quite a lot, and if you really believe you're going to be challenging for a league title, you wouldn't be beat by a team 4 tiers down. And I'm probably being harsh, but that's just how I feel. You need to go out and win every game. You need to think you're the best team, and East Kilbride have that. Rangers B have that. I don't know if Berwick have that.
I think, like we say, that there's no sugarcoating that. It's just a poor result. But I think if you're Berwick now, you have to go out there and make a statement in the league. If you're saying things like, "Oh well, we can focus on the league because we're not in the East of Scotland qualifying cup," and you're kind of sullying the idea that cup competition is if it's maybe inferior and you don't want it's maybe seen as an
can you withdraw? I mean, just withdraw. If I don't know if they got a punishment.
You absolutely could, man.
Aye. I mean, if you didn't want to play in it, then didn't play in it. You know?
But they absolutely have to now show something in the league, which right now I'm not massively convinced they will. Like you said, I think. And
they're against a really decent Braves team next Saturday. And Braves have been on. We've typed up Braves, talked about Braves. I'm not convinced Berwick can beat them.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I think they really have to make that statement in the league, no doubt about it, or the Scottish Cup or the South Challenge Cup in the next round. I think that they have to go and make a statement in those games, because if they're going to talk like that, then there's no way you've got to back that up and go and get the result. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back from that for Berwick, but we'll keep an eye on it, and I'm sure we'll talk about it plenty in due course.
And just a reminder of people, I'm only harsh on teams that I think and I know can do better, because certainly mentality issue wise, obviously everyone knows I'm a bastard to my own teams, Spurs, Ben. But that was when I saw Arsenal and their mentality in that one episode. That used to be Spurs until Conte came aboard. We were.
But you hate Arsenal, but
but that used to be us. It was like looking in the mirror and saying, "Yep." Dele Alli and all these players they didn't have that mentality, and it doesn't matter if you're in the English Premier League or the Scottish Premiership or whatever. You need to have that mentality to be a winner, in my opinion. There's just too many players that take it for granted, and I think we see that sometimes. They take it for granted, their ability, and it's just they're never going to win anything if they don't try. You know what I mean?
Well, that concludes the roundup on the official Catchup podcast. For another week. It was a bumper episode of South Challenge Cup, West of Scotland, East of Scotland, Lowland League, all sorts chucked in there. Obviously, next weekend there'll be teams involved in the Scottish Cup, not the big Scottish as people refer to it as. Man, I honestly cannot stick it. Anyone who refers to it as a senior Scottish or the big Scottish, get in the bin just now, man, because it does my absolute head in, those references. And teams and managers and players, and sorry, I'm often in a rant here as well, but it's just one of those things that just like, I'm a bit of a weirdo OCD for like consistency, and like when it comes to like media and things like that. I mean, obviously we're involved in that from a podcast perspective, but also from a club perspective for me. And one of the things I hate is the lack of consistency, and that's one of the things you see folk talking about the big Scottish and the senior Scottish Cup and shit like that, and it's just like, shut up, just call it the Scottish Cup, because that's what it is. It's the premier competition within Scotland. It's the biggest bit of trophy that you can win outside the leagues, within it's certainly the biggest bit of trophy you can win for a West of Scotland or an East of Scotland side at this point in time. I mean, the likelihood of winning it, as we talked about last week, is pretty slim, but it'll be interesting to see how the teams get on. As I say, there's obviously quite a few East and West teams involved who've got the licence, so looking forward to that. We've got Rutherglen, Glencairn away. Our last two results have been we won 5-4 after being down 4-1, and then we drew 4 each after being up 4-1. So, I mean, if anything, Rutherglen versus Cowan Rangers has goals written all over it. That's a set as far as I'm concerned. We win the game so we can get in the hat on the Sunday and get excited about a potential draw. As I say, absolutely choking to play Broomhill, so that would be class if we could get through the round and get Broomhill. I don't care if it's home or away. Actually, the team I want to play is Broomhill. Battle of the podcasts, isn't it? Podcast derby, we'll call it that.
Well, just to get your thoughts on something else out with football, Ben. I know we're kind of running late for time, but Anthony Joshua last night, what did you think of that?
Interesting you bring that up. So my view is that Anthony Joshua, he done well in the fight.
Well, yep.
I probably had it fairly close up into the 9th, and then I thought he edged the 9th, but Usyk was absolutely outstanding in the 10th, 11th, and 12th. But I'm going to just jump on quickly, and I don't massively care about Anthony Joshua. I think the big story last night for me was Leon Edwards in the UFC, who beat Kamaru Usman, who is the pound for pound champion in the UFC. He is one of the greatest in the UFC at welterweight. Leon Edwards won the first round, was absolutely shocking in the second, third, and fourth rounds, and then KOs Kamaru Usman to win the belt. Leon Edwards from Britain, also he's from Birmingham, and that was an amazing story for me. And that to me should be the story everyone's talking about, not how
Joshua reacted.
Anthony Joshua lost the plot and toys were out the pram and ring belts were literally out the ring, things like that. Because for me, Leon's story is miles better than Anthony Joshua's. But UFC is probably still a kind of niche sport. It's not a niche sport; it's mainstream. But I mean the papers and are barely talking about it. I mean the media outlets are barely talking about that result last night, and for me it was phenomenal from Leon Edwards.
Boxing, Sport of Kings. Apart from the judges, I mean, 2 of the judges should hang their heads in shame. 16-12. The guy that was 16-12, the third judge was bang on, and that's what I would have had.
The guy has it 15-13 for Joshua, man, needs to have a wobble, man. He's don't know what he was watching, because Usyk was tremendous, as I say, in those last 3 rounds, absolutely. Joshua's chance to win it was in that 9th all day long.
Yeah.
If he'd put the gas on and just went out
I thought he hurt. Round. I actually thought he hurt Usyk, because he did look like he'd just done him in the body, but Usyk's movement was so good up until the sort of later rounds, and I think that's when he was hurt.
I think the thing, though, for me, was that Joshua didn't seem to capitalise when he did hurt him. He seemed to back off or clinch up, and I mean, I'm not a boxing expert by any manner of means. My new sport than I was athletics. I've been watching Commonwealth Games and European Championships and all that, and I've become an implement expert in pole vaulting, parameter sprints and all that kind of stuff, but couldn't run the length myself at the moment. But I mean, obviously last night was a great night for fighting. I'm a big fighting fan. There was bare knuckle boxing matches on last night that I was involved in, or what? Not involved in.
Involved in? What?
Steady. I was watching Michael Venom Page versus Mike Perry was on the BKFC, which is it's a bare knuckle boxing championship, which is
all right.
Pretty insane to watch, man. Like actual guys busting each other's face open with like bare knuckles. It's absolutely degenerate stuff to watch. I'm not gonna lie, but if you just tuned in, obviously this is the official Catchup fighting podcast. But yeah, absolutely, it was like a good night for the if anything, a fight aficionado like myself. It was good to sit down and watch all those matches.
I saw the funniest tweet actually. Someone said that Usyk hit Joshua so hard they thought he was at a birthday party with a hip. So I was pissing myself at that. It was just a weird. I mean, I compared it to Eric Cantona with his weird rants in football, and obviously the Ultimate Warrior that just didn't make any sense, in the wrestling. But it did remind me a wee bit like wrestling. It was really.
Well, that's what I felt about the speech at the end, man. I was like, I think I tweeted that out. I was like, this is like WWE. It felt a bit like he went out in a huff and he came back, and obviously been told to come back contractually or whatever. I don't know if it was something like that.
He swore in Saudi Arabia as well. Someone brought that point up as well.
Oh, really? He's probably in the back of a van somewhere getting 40 lashes, man. Poor guy. But it seems like obviously Tyson Fury's obviously ran his mouth a little bit this morning, and he's kind of suggesting he's not retired, which is obviously exciting. But I think the thing I tweeted as well was this idea that Joshua versus Tyson Fury is like a super fight. Listen, doesn't know what they're talking about. Quite frankly, I see the Tyson Fury was referring to Usyk as a welterweight or a middleweight or something like that, because he's like 15 stone, he's smaller, and Tyson Fury's about fucking 18.
His movement is so good. He actually
ridiculous, man, ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
His feet, some of the feet work was just massive. Like, but yeah, obviously, if you've tuned into this podcast and you like boxing, I hope you've enjoyed that last 10, 15 minutes there of roundup. But just to round up the podcast, then, Chris, where can we find us if you're looking for us on all the outlets?
Official Catchup on Twitter, Lowland League Catchup on Facebook. We're pretty much everywhere. First link or last episode on LinkedIn. We're everywhere. So, yeah, I won't probably be posting too much on LinkedIn, Ben.
I'm
what about yourself?
Yeah, get me on that, Mr. Ben Grant on Twitter as always. If I've upset you, then come and hit me up with your DMs or catch me at a West Scotland football ground near you fairly soon. Just probably one thing I want to say is remember, like and subscribe. I think you always hear that from YouTubers and podcasters and all that. Make sure you hit the subscribe button because obviously it helps you out if you're on the subscriptions and you've got to do all that stuff in it.
I don't think we've ever asked that, Ben.
I know. Do you know? I thought about it last week. I was after we'd done the podcast. I was like, we never say about getting subscribing because, like, I know that helps grow channels and things like that if you're subscribing. So, if you do enjoy this and you're still here, hit the subscribe button on the old YouTube
on YouTube and that. Yep.
Audible or Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen. Make sure you do that. But we'll be back, I'm sure, next Sunday, as well probably for you guys next Monday. But we'll be back next week for another round of the official catch up. Cheers.